Hey guys, Jim here. Let's take a look at a new knife from Reate Knives called the New-Torrents, and you'll see the correct spelling for that name up there in the description and in the video title. Now, for those of you that follow my channel a little bit, you know that I'm not a real big fan of production knives these days. I really stick to customs and every now and then maybe a mid-tech. But when I do buy a production knife, there are only a couple of brands that I really go to, and A, because they're different and they're a little bit more scarce and more rare than, say, maybe a Spyderco or a typical Benchmade, and I find them to be of a very, very high degree of quality. And that's Custom Knife Factory. You guys know I'm a big fan of their work. They're very, very, very close to being full-on custom knives, really. And we have Browse blades. Browse is a little bit more mid-tech, and some of their models are mid-tech and some are custom, but I'll lump those in here anyway. And then, of course, Reate Knives. And if you've never seen any of my Reate videos, just a very, very quick backstory. Reate came on the scene only about, 2 years ago? Yeah, just about that, 2 years ago. And they came out with the District 9, and then they came out with the Hills, and they kind of blew everybody away because they're Chinese-made knives, and the Chinese-made knives have had a horrible stigma, and well-deserved. I'm not saying that that's not the case. A lot of times it was companies just knocking off very popular knives that we were already buying from other companies or from custom makers and putting out really, really shitty quality. The difference with Reate knives is, from the very beginning, from the D9 to the Hills to the Horizon series, so on and so forth, they're all original designs. And, you know, they're functional knives more so than anything else. What you've got here is yet another really great design, functional, I think beautiful, fits great in the hand. It's a little bit of a different size than the Horizons, and the big difference is going to be the level of refinement. Now, I've had people comment on previous Reate videos because they weren't paying attention, they didn't listen to the story, or just maybe they watch my fucking videos on mute. I have no idea. They're like, I don't know why somebody want to buy a knife where they sent it out to China and had it made for cheap labor and this and that. No, David Deng, maybe you've picked up on this, D-E-N-G, is Chinese. Sending them anywhere but China would be outsourcing. So I just want to drive that point home for those that didn't quite get that. David is the owner of the machinery. He is a master machinist. He has a small crew of machinists that work with him in his facility. It's not a sweatshop. There are no children assembling your knives. He makes them where he lives, in freaking China. So that's the reason for all of that. And because of the way that he manufactures, most of the knives, most people would consider to be very, very affordable. This one's going to be $375 when it releases in a few weeks, which would be November of 2015. I always have to remember to throw a date in here because somebody could be watching this 2 years from now and think that this hasn't come out yet. It's not a new video at that point. So in November 2015, these will be released to the public. You can go to, I'll just get all this out of the way, you can go to knifecenter.com, bladehq.com, gpknives.com, and forthenrycustomknives.com. They're all accepting pre-orders. Everybody is $375 total price. I believe, though, Fort Henry Knives was $10 or $15 more. I really don't know why. But there it is. So it's $375 total price. I think it's a great value because what you're getting, and first I have to start right there. Guys, you are getting M390 steel. Now, even on the standard Reate knives, or the knives that they build for the custom makers they're collaborating with, like Todd Begg and Liang Ma, they're typically using S35 VN, and at $375, $400, that's perfectly acceptable. But to get M390 on top of all the other things that we're about to discuss, that's fantastic. Now it becomes even more of a great value for anybody that's looking at these. So let's talk about the knife. You've got just a hair over a 3.5-inch blade, which makes this smaller than the Horizon series that preceded it. You've got a much higher level of refinement, number one, in the beautiful finish on the blade, where you see, for the first time ever, a two-tone finish where the flats are done in a very, very dark stonewash, a black wash finish, and the spine of the blade is a matte finish, kind of dark too. And then the first time we're seeing a harpoon pop up on any of Reate's designs. So you've got a very prominent harpoon. The swedge and harpoon are satin. Your flats are the dark wash. And then you've got a really nice looking satin. Again, for a machine crafted knife, a really nice looking satin on the primary bevels. Very, very well done. You've got a nice bit of articulation here in the frame. There's just everything about it is comfortable in the hand. They've really kind of softened the feel of this knife. Let's give you a size comparison here against the Horizon. And I kind of have to tilt these a little bit because I have the camera facing more this way, less, you know, not really facing straight down. So let's see if, I don't even know if I can freaking do that. I'm not really going to be able to do it, so let's try it this way. Just bring this close to the camera as I can. So basically you've got, man, that's not even a 1/4 inch difference there. The Horizons are about 3 3/4 inch. This is just, I mean, just a touch over 3.5 inch blade. 8.5 inches overall for the overall length. So it's a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower, and a bit more compact and easier to carry than its slightly larger brother. A few things that you need to realize when you're buying into these Reate knives: you're getting into a ceramic bearing system. It was a big enough deal just when the Reates came out and they were on bearings for their price point. Now we're getting ceramic bearings, ceramic detent, oh yes. You have a lock bar stabilizer that's built in with a steel lock face insert. And that's all done as one unit held in by that screw, but it's completely hidden by the lock bar. And I've mentioned this before, I love it. Most custom knives, when you have a lock bar insert to have the steel on steel lockup, you'll see where they've basically cut the titanium lock bar short and then added it as a cap on the end. What Reate does is they hide it behind the lock bar. You still have that perfect interface, but it's not detracting away from the design or the beauty of the knife. There we see a nice blued back spacer from the inside. Of course, the blade is perfectly centered. I mean, guys, for a production knife, this thing is extraordinarily well built. Titanium back spacer, where only the edges and the dots on the spine are done in blue, and that matches the beautifully blued titanium hardware. Titanium pivot screw inside of the pivot. Very, very nicely done. I think overall it's an exceptional design. Before anybody squawks and goes, they stole Todd Begg's pocket clip design with the ceramic ball bearing. Don't worry about that. It's very clear that David and Todd are friends since he produces the Steelcraft Quaken for Todd Begg. So he's incorporated that look into this clip. It's a really nicely sculpted, 3D sculpted titanium clip. It's got the holes punched out, speed holes. It makes this knife so much faster. No, it's just a design thing. Really nicely done. I've carried this only once. I've only had this for like 3 days. It pockets really, really nicely. It's got a great amount of tension, and it goes in the pocket very, very easily. Very easily. I love having that ceramic ball on there. So let's talk about the refinement. Now, we've talked about the nicer finish on the blade. When you look at the typical Reate knife, you're going to be getting a whole lot of stonewash. And let me say, there is nothing wrong with stonewash. I want to make that very, very clear. However, everybody's production knife and everybody's mid-tech knife, the blade is stonewashed. The frame is stonewashed. We are living in stonewash hell right now. People need to start upping the game just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. As we see, Reate had started doing that here by giving you the beautiful custom anodized components and the clip and the pivot, and they did a nice job setting this apart from the crowd. So you've got a more refined blade profile, nicer, I think nicer grinds, and nicer finishing. But here's where a lot of people were wondering about the differences, the texturing in the frame. You'll see it's a lot finer than the pattern that they used over here. And instead of just milling out and lowering this area in the titanium, they've actually chamfered it. And it's not true chamfer, that would be an even 24 degrees all the way around, yes, I know, but by beveling that off. And it goes from wide to narrow, then not only does it go back to wide, but it actually rounds off. See, this is flat. Let me get this one out of my hand for a second. Here, it's flat. But back here, it's actually rounded. Now, I listen, I'm no CNC genius, I'm not a machinist, I'm not a knife maker. I honestly don't know how they made that transition. You see where the transition stops right here. But it's really not noticeable to the naked eye. You're looking at 1080 HD and very, very, very close up, and you're seeing that. But that is, right there, an amazing little transition. It really is. I also like the new, larger lanyard opening as opposed to the hole. It's more complementary to the flow of the design. It really fits with the shape of the knife a little bit better than just a hole. So very nicely done there. Love just that line of color, and the dots of color. Very classy, very cool. I mean, everything about the knife is, to be honest with you, just about as perfect as one could reasonably expect. Now, these are not thumb studs. They actually are going to be external blade stops. Let's get that out of the way. And they will create the stop there and the stop there. Jimping and the thumb ramp, I'll be honest with you, pretty much useless. There's no grip or traction there whatsoever. Not that it's a big deal, but it is worth noting. Nice feel with that choil right there. And you know what? I don't really remember. No choil there. So another new addition. I don't know if it's really slimmer. No, they're just, yeah, they're pretty much the same thickness, but this is definitely narrower this way than the Horizon. But yeah, there is a significant difference in the patterns they've chosen here and the level of finishing that's gone into them. Just gorgeous, really is. This is a fantastic knife, it really is. So if maybe the Horizons were a little bit too large for you, this is just a teeny tiny little bit smaller, a little bit lighter in weight than the full titanium Horizon. Not quite as lightweight as the Horizon in the carbon fiber. Listen, I know I kind of sound like a broken record every time I bring out a Reate knife. They really are amazing. I've yet to have one that I really didn't enjoy. Now, I didn't really carry my District 9 or my Hills. I didn't do a video on either one of those. They just really weren't my particular style. That doesn't mean the knives weren't great. The fit and finish were fantastic. The function was flawless. There's a lot of F's in there for some reason. See, even with the F and the 4, I don't know. There's a lot of fucking F's in there. Oh, see, I said the word fuck. A lot of F's are going on right now. Anyway, I just lost 3 subscribers. Oh my God, he said a dirty word. The bearded, tattooed guy that talks about guns and knives. How dare he cursed. Listen, if you're watching my videos with young children, that's on you. I can't help that. Anyway, so what was I saying before I went off on the F tangent? Anyway, I find this to be a fantastic knife, and I've never really been unhappy. That's where I was going. I've never really been unhappy with any Reate knife. Just not all of them tickle my fancy, if you will. Oh, look, he's getting all sophisticated now. He's making up for the F word. Take a breath. I really like this design. Overall, it's a practical, easy-to-carry knife. It's great size. I like to stay with a blade length between 3.5 and 3 3/4 inches, primarily. I do have larger knives, I do have smaller knives, but it's still my sweet spot. And I just think if you're not into spending several hundreds, 500, 700, 800, and more on a high-end mid-tech, or high-end production even. And you're not into spending thousands on custom-made knives. You just want something really nice, really cool, and have the pretty much the same feeling of having a custom in your hand. It flips phenomenally well. It's snappy like a little fucking what snaps like a little snapper. It's snappy. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's very fast is what I'm trying to say on the flipping action. It's extraordinarily smooth. So these are some of the things that we look for when we're spending big dollars on a custom knife, right? Well, you're getting that in a full-on production. Nobody's trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. We're not calling them mid-tech. We're not calling them custom. They're production knives. And they're going to be made in quantity. A lot of people are going to get a chance to own these at these lower prices. Again, $375 for me is an extraordinarily cheap knife. I don't want to say cheap knife. That's the wrong wording. Extraordinarily affordable, inexpensive in its cost. You're getting a lot more quality, I think. And I can tell you right now, if this were made in the United States, if a custom knife maker said, you know what, I've got a great design here, I want to make a mid-tech knife out of this, and I want to do it only in the US and pay those higher prices, this knife could not sell for $375. It would be more along the lines of $500 to maybe $600. So when I talk about value, it has to be relative. No, I'm not going to put this up against, a $5,000 hand-built custom and say it's anywhere close to that. It's not. But it is a far sight better than many production knives that I've held that are as expensive or more expensive in some cases. There's some great zero-tolerance knives out there that, the prices kind of got crazy, didn't they? And for my money, I'd rather have this. It may not be as collectible down the road, but who knows? I don't really remember seeing anybody selling any of their Reats at a loss. I'm not saying it's an investment. Please don't ever misunderstand me. Unless I'm sitting out here with a Michael Walker or a Ron Best or a Bill Tuck, I'm not going to tell you that the knife is an investment. But I've never really seen anybody sell one for less than they were going for. So that's a good thing, right? I think so. But I mean, this is really more about what you're going to carry and what you're going to use. And it just happens to be real purty on top of that. It's not really, an investment grade knife. You're not buying this with the intent of flipping it and cashing in cha-ching with a big old profit. It's just a great everyday knife. That's what he set out to make. That's what you were looking for. That's exactly what you got. And I'm a big fan of harpoons. I'm glad they finally got a harpoon in their lineup. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. David, congratulations again on another amazing piece. I continue to be impressed, not only with his professionalism and the great work that he's doing, but the fact that he doesn't go, hey, everybody that has reported back on the internet after buying one of my knives says it's amazing and it's damn near a custom and I can't believe what I got for the money, so I'm doing good and I'm just going to keep pumping out the same quality. Instead, he continues to refine and make a better knife with every single solitary model that comes out. That's truly amazing. And my hat's off to you, buddy. Thank you for letting me be the first person to do a video on one of these. I'm honored. I'm honored to have it in my collection, and I know a lot of people that own your knives that just do nothing but praise them, and I think that this is going to be another huge success. So if you guys are pre-ordering this, you have every right to be excited and be checking the mail every day to see if you're getting that shipping notification, because when you get this, I don't care how many Reats you own, you are going to be impressed from the design to the feel, the fit and finish. Oh, and that new level of refinement that we're seeing in this knife. Congratulations to all who are getting one, and with that, I'm out of here.